I'm so honored to have you here. Cheetah, I saw about 9 months ago or 8 months ago, I found you on Instagram, and then I searched you out on YouTube. I'm a lifelong martial artist and fighter myself. And and I just amazed by your story. I was viciously bullied and tormented myself when I was young, so I could relate in some ways to your story. And I just would love to hear about how, and our listeners would love to hear about how you became the most dangerous woman in the world.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, it happened right there in Chester, PA. That 5 mile hood. That's all it was, just projects, and I was always smart and very petite, but I had an athletic build, you dig? And that's what they used to do. They used to tease me because I was built like an athlete. I didn't know. I'm just a kid, and first time I ever had this body, you did, you know. But it's a shame that kids tease people. But I'll move on forward in that. But to make a long story short, from the bullying, make me do their homework, tease me because I, had an athletic build, and tease me because my hair was really really super, just crazy. I wore glasses. I look, I've been wearing glasses from the day that I was born, and reason being, I was actually born with skin over my eyes, so they call it a veil. You dig? So I've been wearing glasses for a very very long time. You dig? But
Yes.
anyway, it went from the bullying, and then finally it got to the point where I didn't want to go to school. Here I am, like 8, 9, 10 years old, don't want to go to school. That's not good for a kid. You dig?
Yeah.
No kid, no kid. I bet you know what I'm talking about, Javier, right?
It's it's
Yeah.
torture and it's demoralizing every day.
Have you ever been bullied, champ?
Myself,
Yeah, I know you have.
horrifically.
Yeah, Kendrick, you have. So we all have. What happened in your bully situation, Kendrick? Well, how does that make you feel as a man today? I'm sorry. You feel mhm. Right, right. Beautiful. See that's a bit. Look, we know it's amazing. We all have a story. Now tell me yours, Javier. Come on.
From elementary school,
How old?
7, 8, 9, older,
Oh
bigger
man.
kids would punch on me, mess with me, drop chairs on my head in class, embarrass me in front of the girls. And I was a nice person. I was just a sweet, innocent guy. And I don't know what it was, but I just didn't have a violent or tough piece of bone in my
Exterior.
body.
Right.
I could stick up for myself. It was someone maybe my size and my demeanor, but if it was most of the time it was bigger, stronger, older kids. And this went on until I was, believe it or not, until I was 23 years old. Even after I already competed several times, I still felt scared. I still saw myself being bullied by other men as a man. And only when I turned 23, I made that shift, Cheetah, to where I knew how to use these for real. And then suspiciously, no one's bothered me since.
Right. You know why? because you had it here. And this is actually our most powerful weapon. You dig? A mental. Because I'll never forget my uncle always telling me this here as a young grasshopper. Okay. And I was a White House, okay, grasshopper. As a young grasshopper, he would always say, now listen, you know, you're going to have to learn how to fight with your mind and control your mind, control your techniques with your mind, because the day will come, and a day might come where you won't be able to use your hands and feet, Fredia. You know what I mean? So I need you to start learning how to fight with your mind. That's really our powerful weapon, you know? So this was our little technique. Our little technique. This is what I want you to do from this point moving forward. I'm gonna pass this on to you guys, okay?
Okay.
Whenever you're walking down the street and somebody's walking down towards you, throw a couple techniques with them. Shadow boxing. Throw a couple techniques. Knock them out in your mind. In your mind. Am I making sense to you? And don't let them get. Don't let them go. Don't let them get as close as the jab. Make sure they're past the jab. That makes sense. And just work that. And it's such a fun game, you know. And what's fun, what's interesting is I did something. I do it all the time now because it's just a habit. But it started as a game, as an experiment with Quiet Storm. All the men, they were lethal. And it just suddenly became a habit. And you know, it's interesting how coincidentally, I was coming out of McDonald's in Philadelphia. And, you know, back in the day, we had all that gold, you know, always had to wear the gold back in the day, you know, in the 80s. You know what I mean? And I was coming out of McDonald's, and this guy was coming in, and I had made a technique on him, practiced a technique on him. And what's crazy is he had went to grab my chain, and I was able to swap, wham, and block him, you know, and push his hand back, turning back like this. But it was crazy because I had already threw the technique on him in my mind. That makes sense?
Yes. It does, absolutely.
So guys, practice that. That really works. And it keeps the mind stimulated, keeps it busy. Even when you're at work, somebody coming down, just throw a spinning kick at them. Pow! In your mind. In your mind.
I heard you mention this story about the McDonald's and the almost chain snatching of yourself, and how you visualized it first and then you were ready when it happened. I don't remember what interview, but you know, I've been jumping into some of your IG interviews and some of your and I remember you telling the story, and this is I was blown away when I heard that, and I'm blown away when I hear you tell about that now, how you trained yourself to be ready before it happened.
Yeah, I learned that from Quiet Storm, you know, because I was amongst a bunch of men, businessmen. I mean, doctors, lawyers, judges. These are all black men. You know what I mean? Doctors, lawyers, judges, you know, entrepreneurs, engineers. There was just one white guy, and he was from Temple. He would come all the way from Temple University. He was studying to be a doctor to Chester. You guys know where Chester is, I hope. To the hood. And he looked like a nerd when he came in. I'm gonna tell you something. He was one bad mama. Yeah, the mama. Yeah, he was bad. I'm telling you. And I used to always say, boy, whoever mess with him, boy, they gonna get surprised.
And for a long night.
And no, it's gonna be short. Definitely.
We want to hear about the pivotal person in your life that helped change the trajectory of your life and got you to learn how to fight with your mind and protect yourself. Could you please talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, yeah, but well, you know what? Like I said, it all started with being bullied, and my mom had no idea that I was being bullied. This how she found out. This one day I came running home and I busted. She was in the house playing solitary, you know, and listening to the radio, and I come running in the house like a black superwoman and knocked all the cards off the table. That's how she learned that I was being bullied.
Yeah, you were running for your life, right?
Oh, I was terrified. And I mean, I was really terrified. And I was already terrified anyway. She just found out how terrified I was. And eventually I went ahead and shared that with my grandparents. Once my mom found out about it, I went ahead and shared it with my grandparents. And my uncle is my grandmother's son, my father's brother. My uncle is my father's brother. So I shared it with my father's brother, and he is the one who happened to be the martial art master. And they're the ones that had the martial arts school. And I'll never forget this day. I'll just never forget it. He came up to my mom's house, and you know, he asked for me, and I came to the door. He put his arm on my shoulder, you know, and we were walking down the street. And he had his arm on my shoulder. He says, "So I hear that you're having problems in school." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, So, I hear you keep running from, transferring from school to school to school. I was like, yeah, man, I don't want to go to school no more. I'm like, I'm done. He was like, well, listen, Fredia, you can't continue to run all your life, He said, that's not what life is all about. You can't continue to run. This is what we're going to do. I said, what? He said, we're going to introduce you to karate. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to fight. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to fight. I'd have had enough of that there. In fact, I never even fought because they couldn't catch me. But, he said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and introduce you to karate. I said, listen, this is what we're going to do. What we're going to do, we're just going to rebuild your self-confidence, And I was like, here I am like 10, 11 years old. Well, what's self-confidence? I don't know. They never taught us what self-confidence is. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
No one's never fed. And this is what an ingredient that's really missing from kids today. And even bullies. Am I making sense to you? I kind of figured it out. But we were never taught what self-confidence is. And even Kendrick, as our race confidence has been shattered, broken, our culture. You follow what I'm saying? But anyway, we were never taught what self-confidence is. And once he shared with me what self-confidence is, do you know what it is, Xavier?
Absolutely.
What does it mean? Tell me. Come on.
Standing up straight and looking at everyone in their eye, shaking their hand firmly, and exuding your confidence in yourself, that you respect yourself, you respect others, and that you also demand the same amount of respect back that you give others, and you won't take nothing less than that.
Love it. Okay, and Kendrick, man, self-confidence.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Self-confidence. Javier hit it spot on the head. I mean, more or less, feeling good about yourself, and not having to make others feel bad about themselves because you feel good about who you are and how you get down.
Right.
If I could add on or expound on what he was saying, but
right. Yeah.
He stole my question about your
right.
uncle, so I'm stealing some of his answer about
self-confidence. Well, we all have a spirit of self-confidence. You understand? And you got to walk with that spirit yourself. That makes sense? Because that's your spirit. We all got our own spirit of self-confidence, and you got to find it because it's within us. You dig? And that's what happened with me. My uncle, he actually opened up a door of magic for me. You follow what I'm saying? He taught me, and this is really crazy and he's a doctor, by the way. You feel what I'm saying? So he was studying to be a doctor, and he's a doctor now. Well, he's retired, about to retire now, but he was a doctor at the time.
Okay, sure.
And I was their experiment. This is crazy. They told me I was their martial art experiment. Wow. Okay. So anyway, he shared with me what I learned about self-confidence. Self-confidence is like faith. Having no doubt in your God-given abilities. And faith is like having no doubt in God. Am I making sense to you? Absolutely. Even if it's the size of a mustard seed, your faith as well as your confidence. Now, you got a big confident spirit like LeBron James, and you can see their confidence because they carry that spirit. They got it. That's what you have to do as well, Kendrick, man. Because you were like, your answer was, well, what he got. No, you have your own confident spirit. You dig?
True.
That makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's what self-confidence is having no doubt in who you are as a soul, as a spirit on this planet. Having no doubt what your purpose is, having no doubt and believing in the steps that are being ordained for you. That make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what self-confidence is to me, champ.
Definitely.
It's spiritual for me. Martial arts is spiritual for me. When I learned with these guys, they don't teach martial arts like they did back when I was coming up. It's spiritual. You feel what I'm saying? With us, and it was amazing. And I have videotapes. I can't wait to share them during our feature film coming up. But it's really spiritual. It's really spiritual. You feel what I'm saying? And by that, like, for example, in Ephesians, right? In Ephesians, it says, wear your armor of God, right? That's our equipment. That's our equipment. You follow what I'm saying? Yes. Make sense? Yes. Okay. And martial arts, when we started sparring, we put on our equipment. That was our armor of God. You see that there?
Yes.
You feel that there?
Yes.
Even when my uncle said, learn how to fight with your mind, We have to learn how to fight with the unforeseen spirits that we're dealing with every day. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So that's really the real fight. And every last one of us as souls, as spirits, we're going to fight for the rest of our life. And even when we move on, that's why you got to wear your equipment, which is your armor of God. I always wear it. You know, feel what I'm saying? Well, especially when I'm ready to go training. Boom, boom. Headgear. That makes sense? Chest gear. Breastplate. You know what I mean? You see your shoes, gloves. I got my sword. Let's do it, God. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. If I can just if I can share this, I never not have my headgear and gloves and mouthpiece with me. I always have it in my gym bag, even if I don't spar anymore. I don't really spar that much anymore. I don't spar hard anymore. But even so, I have it just in case. And my old boxing coach would ask me, he'd say, Javier, do you have your, randomly in the gym, do you have your, I'm not even doing anything with him. He said, do you have your gear with you? Do you have your headgear? Because one of his fighters didn't have his headgear. And I go, yeah, I do, coach. He goes, why do you have your headgear? I said, in case somebody want to get some work, you know, you never know. And then he said, see, Javier's not even fighting. He's a trainer. He's not even sparring. He's got his gear on him. So
you got to have your armor. You got to have your armor. You feel what I'm saying? Because life is all about protecting ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? It is. As we go through every step in life, because there are many steps in life. I kind of figured it out. You feel, you know, there are many steps in life before we get to heaven. That makes sense? And we have to climb each step. And each stair in between, there's a test. And we have to pass that test. We pass that test, we make it to the next stair. That makes sense?
yeah.
And each time we become stronger and greater, and our light shines brighter and brighter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What do you think? Y'all tell me. I'm just jacked.
Go ahead, Kendrick.
I want to know who, in terms of your faith in God, you know, your relationship with Christ, who put you on that path? Was it your grandmother? Was it your uncle? Was it both of them collaboratively?
It was my entire family. I come from an extremely big family. Like my grandmother, my father's mother, and my father's mother's mother, my great grandmothers. I just so happen to be very fortunate to have my great grandmothers who were born in the late 1800s. You follow what I'm saying? Also, I've been fortunate to be the first one on both sides of the family, the firstborn. So I'm actually the firstborn on my father's side. I'm actually the first one, period, in the whole family.
Wow.
Period. The firstborn. So I got a taste of the 1800 spirit, my ancestors' spiritual blessings. That makes sense. And I just learned from my mom and my grandmom, you know, because they wanted me to always go to church. I'm like, why do I gotta go to church? These pantyhose, they be itching. You know what I mean? Hey, y'all need to put on some pantyhose. Them damn things itch.
I'm gonna take your word for it. That's not
Take your word for it.
So my grandmother, she would always, it was like mandatory, you know, it's always mandatory. And I said, well, look at here, Grandma, if I go to church, you know, I want to make sure that, and I was young, and you know how young kids are, they keep it 100. Because I never forget, I had already gone and then I fell asleep. I would always fall asleep in church. So my grandmother had to make a deal with me, you know, and I had to make a deal with her. Well, the only way that I can stay awake, first of all, is that I can't wear those pantyhose. Secondly, if I go to church, Grandma, I need to know if I'm hearing God or not. I need to know if who am I going to communicate? How do I know if I'm talking to God, Grandma? How do I know if it's really him talking to me or if it's not the enemy? You understand? And I was a young kid. You dig? I wanted to know if I'm going to play this church game, help me. You dig? So she said, well, God sits on one side of your shoulder and the enemy sits on the other side. Now, and this is what she said to me when I was young. It's crazy, but it's true. When you're ready to do something, your guardian angel or God will tell you what to do, but immediately you got to catch it. Because immediately your hater will come behind and go, nah, don't do it. Do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm making, and I know you guys have experienced that, right?
Yes.
Of course.
That's the
Huh?
battle between the dark and the
Good
light,
and
the good and
evil.
the evil. That's constantly going on.
The evil is constantly trying to distract us from our blessings. And oftentimes we don't even realize it, but you gotta, like my grandma said, his voice is very soft and it's often the first one. You dig? And I had this conversation with Terrence Howard the other day because he asked me the same question from Empire.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he asked
Wow.
me the same question because they want to know how is it that it just I learned it from a young age, and as my grandparents continued to teach me, they as I got older, they would always say, "I wish I was as spiritual as you when I was your age." Well, Grandma, I'm learning from you. You're like 70 years old. I'm only 10. You know, I'm only 11. So I'm literally learning from the best, you and my mom. That makes sense?
Having a spiritual person to look up to in your life, your grandmother, that did that carry you, that your faith and that spirituality you learned from her, did that carry you throughout your life, good times and bad?
Oh yeah, always. In fact, you know, being my father's only child, I mean, I have siblings, but I'm my father's only child. You dig?
Okay.
And being my father's only child, my grandma would always say to me, even my mom, "You're the only one. You have to keep God first, Fredia. You must always keep God first in your life." You understand? You walk out your door, you walk back in, wherever you walk in, you must always keep him first on your journey. And what's crazy is my grandma told me that. My mom told me that. They never spoke. Then I went to church one time in Pennsylvania before I decided to go off on my journey. And the pastor told me the same thing on my journey. So I heard it 3 times from the Spirit. You feel what I'm saying? Because God is not going to come down and say, "Hey, Xavier, this is what I need you to do, bro. Because I got this here planned for you up here." He's not going to say, "Kendrick, this is the move that I need you to make." Now, you're going to feel a little bit of pain and trial and tribulation, but this is what we got planned once you pass this test. He uses people.
Yeah,
Make sense?
that's deep.
That's
Yeah.
why you got to listen to the people. I'm going to give you a prime example, champ. I was getting ready for a world championship fight against Samaya Nai. She had beat Christy Martin, and she beat Christy Martin bad.
This
Okay.
is a boxing world championship boxing match.
Boxing match, yeah. And I'll never forget, and this is that big arena there in Texas, and I'll never forget hearing during weigh-in, I heard someone say, "So Cheetah, when are you going to have a baby?" And I said, "Soon." I said, "I got to find the time." And I heard them say, "Do it now." Okay. But I never saw them, but I heard them. Am I making sense to you? I didn't listen to it. You dig? But I still hear them because I didn't listen. Now, had I listened, I would have still heard them, but I didn't listen to them. And that was the Spirit. We got to hear it. That makes sense? Because God works through us to tell other people what he needs you to hear.
That story, Cheetah, reminds me a little bit of the story when when you looked at the clock after you won that kickboxing match, and then there was that time that coincided with your was it something that related to your mother, I believe.
Yeah.
And that told you that you were in the doing the.
I knocked. Yeah. You know, that's why it was so important to me to tell my story, because I really wanted them to know the world to know exactly what I was thinking from my soul. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to know that I did call on God. You feel what I'm saying? And I wanted the world to know that I wasn't alone. You feel what I'm saying? And I also wanted the world to know that he's real. And he used me in an athletic way to show you guys that he's real. That makes sense?
Yes.
That makes sense because that whole story is completely magical. It kind of surprised me. I didn't even realize it. If you look at my tape, here I am, a white belt sparring with a white girl, a Caucasian girl, at white belt, right? Okay. Here I am, a young girl fighting my uncle for a key. This is a young girl. This is in the past. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, in my future, here I am fighting a serial killer for the key for my life. I never knew that, thought of that. Okay. And then after that, here I am fighting this baddest Caucasian girl for the world championship fight. This was all like preparation. So I'm thinking, so that's how God used me. And what I want to share with you guys is the same thing applies with you guys. That makes sense?
Yeah,
You
it's
got to pay
all
attention to
connected.
the signs. Huh?
It's all connected. The
Yeah.
key with your uncle. Your uncle made you fight for the key for your exit out of
Oh,
the dojo
crazy.
for your survival, and you had to fight for the key to exit the van to save your own life.
Yeah.
And then
That
the
was heavy.
challenges in the ring when everyone was against you.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. You know what's crazy? I got to tell you guys this here. I'll never forget it. I was in Marina Del Rey. This was after the championship fight, right?
Okay.
And I was walking my dog in Marina Del Rey, and the referee from the fight, he and I crossed paths. See how God worked? We crossed paths, like bam. And we start talking about the fight. And he said, "Hey, listen, I want to tell you," because I would have never known had he not told me. He said, "I want to tell you this here. When you roared, your roar was so powerful that it shook the arena." That he said, "I never heard a roar like that before in my life." You understand?
Yeah.
He said, "I'll never forget it." He said, it just permeated me as I was coming home. I was like, wow, exactly. He said, "Oh, by the way, I have a picture for you." He said, "They gave me a picture, but that picture does not belong to me. It's been sitting on my award stand for about 10 years now." You know, see how God works? 10 years
That's
later.
spiritual. Yeah.
You see? So he said, "I got a picture for you. I want to give it to you." I said, "Okay, fine." So he and I, we connect again. He gives me the picture. And that's the picture you see with my arms, hands up. She's knocked out at my mom's birthday, age 16, sitting there.
Wow.
When he gave me the picture, guess what he said to me? He said, "This is for you. You are the one who deserved this. You are the one who earned this." He said, "I want to let you know that they paid me extra to irritate you and to frustrate you." Now, gentlemen, I want y'all to look at the numbers when we fight. When I knocked her out, she got 4 points. She got 2 points. Did you see that?
No, I'm gonna watch it though.
I knocked her out and she got 2 or 3 points. How does that happen? See, I had to knock her out, or else I was going to lose.
Right.
You know?
So they didn't want you
That
to
makes
do
sense?
Yep. Yeah, the evil working against you. You know, that was
Yeah. But see, again,
What God has for you is for you.
I walked in with God. You follow what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real, man. I'm just keeping it real. I walked in with the Holy Spirit. You feel what I'm saying? That's what it's called, the Holy Spirit.
It reminds me, Cheetah, of I'm really into Muhammad Ali, and what one of his interviews after he won his world championship, it's in black and white, he's yelling and roaring, as you say, and screaming, and he's so happy, and he said it out loud to the whole audience on the mic. He says, "If God's with me, can nobody be against me." You know.
That's right. That's true. That's real talk. And that's the way I felt that night, especially when I heard, them say, and it really surprised me, "Hey, that's the black girl who came here to get knocked out." I was so stunned at first. How could someone say this at such a classy event when, this arena holds anywhere from 25 to 35,000 people?
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? I was so stunned, and it pissed me off. And I had already knew I was the underdog. And that at that time, that's when I really had to call on, the Holy Spirit. You dig?
Yes.
When I heard them say that, that's the black girl who came here to get knocked out. That's when I got angry and I said, "Tonight, Father, we are going to shock the world." And I meant that shit. You understand?
17
Yes.
0. Yeah. 17
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, man. So that was such a great experience. And I wanted to fight Valerie again, because they kept saying it was luck. I said, "Listen, well, if it was luck, bring her back.
Why they made
Bring her
the
back."
rematch?
I have well, they lost over 400. Listen, guys, I don't know if y'all know. I have the articles. She lost over $400,000. She lost a TV deal here in America. She lost a 6-figure modeling deal. I took that. You follow what I'm saying? She lost a lot of deals here in America. Had she beat me, she would have had them, but she didn't.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So she lost a lot.
Cheetah, your sideline documentary video, and again, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We appreciate all the time you're giving us, and we know you're super busy. And thank you again from the bottom of our hearts
Thanks for having me.
for giving us the time today. It means so much to us. And I want to ask just quickly, and I don't want to ask too much. I'm not gonna be too greedy.
No,
But
it's all good.
if you could just tell me the thing that stood out the most to me, or that I was just intrigued by in your video, your documentary, is when you went from karate to the Van Nuys Jet Center to learn full contact. Can you please give me a short, a little bit, a taste of what the experience was? I am fascinated by that. I saw Saekson and Janira holding pads for you. I'm hyped by your story.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna share it with you. People always ask me, what did I learn from Benny the Jet? First of all, what I will share with you is when I did go to him, I was like a freshman, and all the champions were like seniors. That makes sense?
Okay.
Yep.
So he really didn't have the time to work with me like he did with his champions, but I learned a lot by observing. You dig? But one of the things that I did learn from him and all the other champions is when it came to running time, we would all meet at 4:30 a.m. at the Jet Center. You follow what I'm saying? And I mean, all his champions from P.D. Cunningham to Alex, I mean, these guys were champions.
I'm a huge fan of P. Cunningham.
Yeah, exactly. We all jogging, and Sensei Benny, he in the front, and I'll never forget. I mean, he taking us distance, and we would often rotate, and we had to keep up with him. So it was like running a relay. You dig? And I'll never forget him saying as we're running, and it was pretty intense. He said, "Listen, this is the way you fight. This is the way you train. Right now, your opponent is asleep. What we want to do is catch them while they're asleep." Make sense? Yeah. You want to be in the best shape of your life while they sleep. That makes sense? And we were. 4:30, we out training. 5:30, we back. My opponent's still asleep. We done bust their asses, and they still asleep. Excuse my French, but it is
love
what
it.
it is.
No, I love it. Oh
So that was one of the great things that I learned from Sensei Benny is the conditioning aspect of it. Because again, I was just a freshman amongst all the world champions. And then what happened, he moved me on to his brother, Ruben Urquidez, and that's when I won the world title. But they got me all my fights. The Urquidezes did. The whole Urquidez, they got me all my fights, all my kickboxing fights. Just so you guys know.
The good Lord gave you favor with that family, Cheetah.
Yeah, he did. He did. And see, and also I worked out with Saekson because I got with Saekson when I was getting ready for the world championship fight. And keep in mind, the Battle of Masters, that's when we were promoting Crow, Brandon Lee. Movie, so we were promoting the movie Crow. So we had Steven Seagal there. We had Jeff Spillman there. We had all Andre Dragon. Yeah. We had all the martial artists from around the world that came because it was the first international pay-per-view card because we were actually introducing UFC to America. Okay. At the time. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And see, we didn't have internet at the time in 1993, 94.
Right, yeah.
So
I'm fascinated by all this. I cannot wait till they make the movie about your life, Cheetah. I am so happy right now. You have no idea.
Champ, it's gonna happen. Listen. Who do you think gonna play? Who do you think gonna play my uncle?
I don't know. I need to think about that. I don't know. Somebody good.
Who do you think gonna play me? Got a couple options.
Oh man, I don't know. I gotta think about this. So you put me on the spot.
Come on, you got 3 seconds. One.
For your uncle, I'm thinking it's kind of a tie between Forrest Whitaker and Lawrence Fishburne.
Gotcha. Okay, good choice.
Cheetah, your base that you started with was karate. What all have you trained, and what is your training like now? Like, for an example, how many times a week are you getting it in with your training? Do you still spar occasionally? Tell me about, again, your base from what your uncle taught was karate.
Right.
Tell me what else you've trained, and tell me how you train now.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm retired now. When I was training, getting ready for competitions. But sure. My base is Jeet Kune Do, Jeet Kune, Aikido, and Monkey. That's what I learned, and we combined them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's my base with Quiet Storm. Now, once I left Quiet Storm, I went ahead and practiced and mastered kickboxing. Now, we all know kickboxing and Muay Thai kickboxing are very different, to some degree, Sure. So I mastered kickboxing, and once I finished with kickboxing, then I went ahead and got my world title in Muay Thai kickboxing. from Muay Thai kickboxing, you know, I went ahead and started practicing jujitsu, you know, mastering my ground game. And, you know, I've been practicing jujitsu now. Well, I just made the transition, so everything's been slowed down. But to make a long story short, jujitsu and Muay Thai kickboxing is my thing. I'm currently training twice a week now for a half an hour intensely.
Nice. Okay. That's always something that I'm curious about. You know, just in terms of when you were competing, you know, as opposed to, you know, when you got older or when you retired and that, you know, different. Some like for some of your professional athletes, and I'm certainly not saying this with you, but just with some athletes, when they do certain things, when it's done, they're done. You know, then some of them will maintain, some of them will get in better shape. You know what I mean? So I was just curious as to what, because I seen you when you had your, you know, your blue on and you was posted up. You know, I got to ask her about some of that good old training.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
welcome,
as a martial
champ.
artist, I bow to you for coming and sharing your story. And I don't know and I respect and admire you so much. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
If people want to get a hold of you, where are you at on IG?
I am. You can catch me YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I am Fredia Cheetah Gibbs. Keep it simple. Peace, love, and happiness. Thank you guys for having me. Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us, Fredia.
Yep.
You too. Thanks,
God bless. Bye.
Thank you so much.